Hi, I am making this video sort of in response to a video by Nicolas Chae. He is another Princeton student, and in December of 2017 he posted a video called How I Got Into Princeton, GPA, test scores, and extracurriculars. I would encourage you to watch that video first. I was very impressed about how he kind of consolidated all these things that colleges are looking for into this video. But I was also inspired to create this video because my college acceptance story is a bit different. I was thinking about if I had watched that video and I was applying to colleges, I probably would have been so scared. So I wanted to make this video to just share my college acceptance story as well. And before I get into all that, I just want to say something that Nicholas said in the beginning of his video, which is that the goal of this video is not to, brag or make anyone feel bad about themselves. The goal is to put my story out there in the hopes that it will help you to see that there's not only one way of getting accepted into college. Unfortunately, or fortunately, acceptance is a very subjective thing, so I'm putting this out there in the hopes that you see that there are plenty of ways to do it. Okay, so I think the format... Okay, thought someone was... I'm in my basement. So I think the format I'm gonna follow with this video is I'm just gonna try and go through everything Nicholas was saying in his video. So I'll start with a little bit of background, I guess, my high school, and then I'll move on to GPA, test scores, AP, SAT, and then we'll look at extracurriculars. Okay. I went to a relatively small Catholic school. The graduating class was, I think, 126. I did graduate as valedictorian. I had a 4.40 GPA. I don't know what scale we followed. I don't know how things were weighted. So there's that. Moving right on to test scores. So I took AP classes starting junior year. I took English and chemistry. I got a 5 on English, I got a 2 on chemistry, and I was fine with that. Senior year, I took 3 AP classes. I took English, psychology, and calculus. I got a 5 on the English and the psychology. I got a 1 on calculus. Hey. Okay, so I took the SAT for the first time towards the end of my junior year. I did not actually do any SAT prep courses. I don't think I even knew that they existed, if I'm being honest. But I took the test, and I ended up getting a 2050, and this is the old test, so there were 3 separate sections for reading, writing, and math. I got a 700 on reading, a 750 on writing, and I got a 600 on math. So that's my 2050. Today, with the revised SAT, with the only 2 categories, I think it would be around 1330. Now, the average Princeton SAT scores, which I had to look up, are somewhere around a 1400 to a 1590. And looking at my equivalent of 1330, I am pretty well below the lowest average test score at Princeton. I did take the SAT again, and I ended up just scoring 10 points higher in each category to give me a 2080, and that's the score that I submitted with my Princeton application. Alright, so now we're moving on to the fun part, which is extracurriculars! Woo! So I didn't have too much to show for myself in that department in high school.
She lies.
Oh my gosh.
Do not succumb to imposter syndrome. Own up!
Okay, fine. I did some stuff. Starting my junior year, I did this thing called forensics, which, if you don't know what that is, it's like a speech and debate team, except there's categories within it other than speech and debate. So I stuck to more of the acting categories. I did something called duo interpretation, which is where you just kind of put on a skit with a partner, a 10-minute skit, and there's all these weird rules you have to follow, like you can't look at each other, you sometimes have to act like you're like doing a mirror reflection thing. Anyway, I did that for my junior and my senior year. Also, starting in my junior year, I did some tutoring at the elementary school that was like down the street from my high school. So that was like an hour after school on the days that I preferred, just tutoring, reading, math, whatever the school needed help with. And then in addition to forensics and the tutoring, I had been volunteering at a senior citizen home since the summer after my sophomore year. So that was mainly conversing with residents and, you know, just being a friend and making sure they have someone to talk to, kind of thing. And now you're probably wondering, what the heck was she doing her freshman and sophomore years? Was she just sitting around and not doing anything till her junior year? How did she get into Princeton? Well, here is where I would like to talk about something called leadership, which is something that a bunch of applications, from like scholarships to the National Honor Society to colleges in general, are always asking about. Now, I am not an admissions officer, but speaking from what I learned through my application process, and speaking as someone who did not have your typical, like, objectively leadership positions or titles, I would like to propose that what colleges mean when they say they're looking for leadership, they mean they want someone who's showing initiative. Now, what does that mean? Initiative does not always mean leading in the conventional sense of the word. Initiative is setting out time to do something that you care about, putting energy into something that you have a passion for. And that can be service work, which is always a good thing on a college application. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes and taking time to help other people, that is taking initiative. That's carving out time in your busy schedule to help other people. That's gold on a college application, I think. But it also doesn't have to be something explicitly service-oriented. If you have an Instagram and you use it to display your artwork, you know, if you're like drawing 2 pieces a month and you're posting those twice a month, I think that's taking initiative. And if that's something that's important to you, that should be on your application, and you should work that into your essay if you can. Colleges want to know who you are as a human being, and they want to know what you care about. You know, what makes you tick, what gets you all fiery in your stomach, like aside from the numbers, which of course are important. But the subjective side of the application process is equally, if not much more important than the objective side of it. So I had my volunteering at the senior citizen home. I did that for 2.5 years, I think. I wrote my supplement essay for the Common App, for the Princeton application, on my experience working there. And I ended up writing my Common App essay on writing. I wrote it about writing. Writing is something that is just so central to who I am, and I would be remiss if I didn't include that in my application. So in the vein of keeping this video about you, this is all to say that you shouldn't be despairing and feeling as if you've failed if you haven't accumulated these amazing experiences, if you haven't gotten a scholarship, if you don't have a bunch of titles to line up on your resume. I didn't even have a resume until I went to college. Ultimately, I want to stress the importance of authenticity in your application, especially if you're going for interviews. They want to know who the person is. They're not looking at the numbers in these types of situations. So I would say do something in high school that is important to you, and do something that you enjoy and you feel rewarded by doing. And in the midst of all this, I do want to mention that I am not trying to knock Nicolas's video by saying, like, you don't need to start preparing for college your freshman year. That's ridiculous. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, if I were to go back to high school and do it again, oh my god, go away. I said if I were to go back, I probably would have joined forensics earlier. I would have joined forensics my freshman year, so I could have gotten, more cultivated into the group. I would have gotten more experience from it. And of course, it does look good on a college application. 4 years of forensics looks better than 2, just objectively speaking. But again, what I want to emphasize in this video is that these are not concrete checklists that you need to have in order to get into a college. Honestly, there were so many just random things that happened that led to me even applying to Princeton in the first place. I didn't apply to other Ivy Leagues, but I am so grateful that I did. I'm going to be starting my junior year. These past 2 years have been the best of my life so far. So I really want to encourage you to apply. Do not despair because you don't have all these bullet points, on your resume. Because as long as you have the initiative to do something that you're passionate about and you can express that well enough, I say you have as good a chance as anyone else. Apply. Hello.